We're going to continue with our study of clouds. Today we're going to do a quick review of some of the clouds we've already studied. We're going to start learning about some things like prefixes and suffixes that might make a big difference in how that would change the way the cloud looks and how that might change the way the cloud functions and where the cloud might be forming in the atmosphere. And those things are very, very important because we know that one of the big ways that we classify clouds is where they form in the atmosphere. And so we'll get into that today. So as we first started studying, we realized that there are three main types of clouds: cumulus, stratus, and cirrus clouds. And when we started looking at the cumulus clouds, as I go through some of this here really quickly, there we go. As I looked at the cumulus clouds, I realized they were big, white, and puffy, and we realized that cumulo means heap in Latin. And they're big and white and puffy, and there's blue sky in between them. And the big thing about cumulus clouds is there was fair weather associated with those. As we moved on, we started to learn about one called stratus clouds, and we know that stratus clouds comes from a Latin word that means to spread out, and that's where we get our word blanket from, and that's what stratus clouds do. They blanket the sky. One thing that we did need to talk about was stratus clouds. Sometimes on the test, they'll say, which of the following brings precipitation? They'll have cirrus, cumulus, and stratus. And I think technically none of those are the right answer, but we know that stratus clouds are the most likely because the other two really don't have an opportunity to bring weather at all. However, there is one very important thing that we need to talk about when we talk about stratus clouds. We will learn and talk about this very often, that clouds have the ability to affect the weather in the daytime and in the nighttime. And stratus clouds, I think, are the best ones to model this. And the reason why is because of what they do and the way that they cover the entire sky. Now, during the day, you might notice right here I have my cloud cover. The sun, as we learned back with conduction, convection, and radiation, is sending heat waves via radiation to the Earth. And those heat waves are blocked, reflected, and absorbed by the clouds during the daytime. But what does that mean for us down here on a cloudy day? That means clouds make it cooler during the day, which is an important fact to understand. Conversely, at nighttime, if there is cloud cover, any heat that was absorbed by the Earth during the day typically is radiated back out into the atmosphere during the evening because the sun's no longer shining on it, it's no longer absorbing heat, it's giving off heat. And so what happens at night is if there is cloud cover, as the heat is being given off, it is trapped. It doesn't get to go into the atmosphere, and it's trapped at lower levels, and that keeps us warmer at night. So the thing that you need to really memorize and know and understand is why during the day cloud cover makes it cooler and why during the evening and at nighttime cloud cover can make it warmer. Our third main type of cloud that we learned about were the cirrus clouds. And those are the clouds that are very thin, they're very wispy, they mean fair weather. Of all the clouds, you're most definitely not worried about this cloud bringing any kind of precipitation because they form so high in the atmosphere that they are actually made of ice crystals. It's a pretty amazing fact about cirrus clouds. And as we started to get into this is where we stopped in class, and we have prefixes and suffixes. And there are, for right now, three main prefixes I want to teach you about. And let me pull up this so I can see where we go. So I have three main prefixes that we want to talk about today. And those three are cirro, which means high-level clouds. Alto is our mid-level. And then we have strato, which is our low-level clouds. So we have cirro, alto, and strato, three different cloud types that form in different places in the atmosphere. Cirros, they form very high in the atmosphere. Altos form in the middle, and the strato clouds are very low-lying clouds. So why is that important? Well, obviously we have cirrus clouds. We don't need to call them cirrus because that would kind of be silly, but cirrus clouds form very high in the sky, and we already know about those. Cirrostratus. Now, you don't have to really take notes on these, but I have seen these prefixes show up, and I want you to understand them. Remember, if we look back at our notes, cirro means high, So a cirrostratus cloud is a high-forming stratus cloud. Now you can notice this is not as thick as that blanket that we're used to seeing with stratus clouds, because cirrostratus clouds form so high and they're forming out of ice crystals, it's more like a sheet that's covering the sky. You can kind of see the light coming through. You can see a little bit of blue sky through it, but it does cover the entire sky like stratus clouds typically do, but they form so high that they're called cirrostratus. You can look at this and use it if you do the project later on. You can use this as extra, but this is not something that I'm going to test you on, so that's why I'm not going to stop and take notes on that. Cirrocumulus. Again, we know that cirro means high. Cumulus clouds are white and puffy and look like cotton balls, and if you look at this picture, it does look like extremely high in the atmosphere cotton balls, and that's what cirrocumulus clouds are. Very similar to your regular cumulus clouds, cirrocumulus clouds typically have fair weather as well. Again, not taking notes on these. This is just to practice with our prefixes, and just in case you want to use it when we do the cloud project, you are welcome to do that. Alto cumulus. So, Mr. Bullens, you've changed the prefix. Let me go back and take a look at my notes. Alto is the mid-level clouds, not a problem. So this is a middle layer cumulus cloud. This one to me reminds, it looks like if somebody took like a bag of cotton balls and dumped them all out on a blue sheet, like the whole bag. You can tell they're cumulus clouds. They're a little small, white and puffy, but there's just tons of them, and they're in that mid layer that we typically would see them in with the alto cumulus clouds. Alto cumulus. These are a little bit different. You can kind of assume that there's a storm coming later on, especially if it's warm and humid outside, because this means when you see these clouds, it means a cold front is coming. Now that may not make a lot of sense to you right now, but pretty soon that's going to be something extremely important to you. And we'll probably refer back to this with the alto cumulus clouds. Again, not something I'm going to test you on. This is to put on the project if you want to, and we will move on from that. Alto stratus, so that's my mid-level stratus clouds. It's not normal for stratus. Stratus clouds are typically pretty low-lying clouds, and it's not normal for them to be cirro, and it's kind of not normal for them to be alto, but these look a little bit more like it, right? They're covering the sky, they're kind of gray. Alto stratus clouds, and you can get some light rain or snow if you happen to see those in the sky. Stratus clouds, just covered those, not going back over that. You don't call them stratostratus for the same reason why you don't call them cirrus. It wouldn't make sense. They're just stratus clouds. And we will move on from that. Nimbostratus. Now I need to stop and go back to our notes page, and I'm going to do that right here. And we're going to come over here and talk about two more words that are extremely important to us. Anytime, and I'll even do it in blue, anytime I add the word nimbo as a prefix or nimbus as a suffix, I am talking about something, a cloud that brings precipitation. Why didn't you just say rain? Because clouds bring more than just rain. Clouds can bring rain, sleet, snow, and hail. Once I start adding the nimbo or nimbus, you're probably talking about rain, sleet, and snow. Now, I don't know that I've ever seen it hail and not thunderstorm at the same time, so that's usually rain in those clouds as well. But nimbo and nimbus are very important words to understand and to have written down in your notes. And along with that, you need to write down nimbostratus. Now, remember what I said. A lot of times in the text, they will refer to stratus clouds as clouds that bring rain. I disagree with that. Why would I have this prefix that is specifically attached to things that bring precipitation if I'm not going to use that prefix accordingly? So when I see rain, sleet, snow, and hail coming, or not hail, but rain, sleet, and snow coming out of a stratus cloud, I call it a nimbostratus cloud because that's the technical science term for it, although this doesn't show up as much. So again, nimbo means rain or precipitation. Stratus clouds that have nimbo attached to it are going to bring, and this is what you probably need to write, moderate, light to moderate, but steady precipitation. Like we said in class, those are the days when it's raining in the morning, raining in the afternoon, and then raining in the evening, because it kind of rains all day long, because those clouds are covering the entire sky. They're not as big and powerful as the cloud that we're about to study here in just a few moments. So nimbostratus. Stratocumulus, again, remember strato is just a low-lying cumulus cloud. I'm going to be very honest with you. When we looked at this picture and when we pulled this picture up, I don't know that I would have labeled that anything other than a stratus cloud. But if you happen to be in weather or meteorologist, maybe you can tell a huge difference in stratus clouds and stratocumulus. But again, don't have to know this one. Not a big deal. This one is huge. Put it in your notebook, put a star by it, take all the notes that you can on it. Probably the most important cloud we will study. Mr. Bullens, why is the cumulonimbus cloud the most important cloud we will study? I will tell you why. These are your thunderstorm clouds. They have flat bottoms. They have, and again, all of this is what you need to write down. They have flat bottoms. This anvil-shaped top is extremely important. I see that pop up. They describe the cloud as having an anvil-shaped top, and if you've never heard that before, you would have no idea, number one, what they're talking about. But that is going to be your cumulonimbus cloud. It's a thunderstorm cloud that does bring heavy precipitation, and it's very dangerous because it has lightning associated with as well, and when it's extremely bad, you can have hail fall from it. If you see these clouds, watch out. They're very dangerous, and you need to be able to recognize those, and that's questions I've seen pop up on tests and quizzes before, so let's be careful with those as well. Cumulonimbus. Contrails, believe it or not, are actually classified as a cloud, and this is actually a shortened word, con, and then this is a trail, so this con word is coming out of the back of the jet, and it's making a cloud, and there was something we studied that was cloud formation, and if you guessed it, you are correct. Condensation is cloud formation. A condensation trail is a trail of clouds made by the exhaust from a jet engine. I don't know what this C is there for. We laughed at that in class. I would go back and change that, but if I edit even one letter in Nearpod, all your codes would cease to exist. So I will fix that later if I remember next time I pull these back up. If not, it's not a huge deal, not the end of the world to have an extra C in there. Just know that contrails are made up of water, and because jets typically fly so high and it's colder at those elevations, a lot of times are made of ice crystals, which is pretty cool. Fog. Fog is extremely dangerous. Fog is something that you need to know. And we're just going to call fog a super low-lying stratus cloud. It is a cloud that is so low that it's actually touching the earth. Fog is a cloud that is so low that it's touching the earth. And it does make it extremely hard to see. Very, very hard to see when it's foggy outside. We talked in class about going up to Boone at the wrong time. If you've ever been up to Boone, North Carolina at the wrong time in the evenings on a foggy night, you have a full understanding of what fog really is. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this picture came from up there. Very, very dangerous. But it's clouds that are touching the earth. Fog. Polar stratospheric clouds, as you're going through here, you don't have to know these, but how in the world would I not at least introduce these to people because they're beautiful clouds? You can read on your own why and when they're formed. If you decide to add them to the cloud project later on, you're kind of doing that on your own, and it's just going to get you some extra points, really. They're not going to be on the test. I'm not going to do anything with those because that would not be very fair because these are a little difficult to understand as you start getting to the way they form, where they form, and then the way the sun shines through them. Kind of difficult. Really fun video to watch on those. Noctilucent clouds, or those polar mesospheric clouds we studied earlier in the year. I highly recommend watching the video after this because these things are actually kind of cool. And it depends on where you are. We should call them Noctilucent clouds because we're viewing them from Earth. If you happen to be in space, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But if you happen to be in space, then you would then call them polar mesospheric clouds. I don't know the difference. If you want to look up why we changed the name of these, that'd be on your own time. It'd be interesting to learn, though. And those are Noctilucent clouds. Extremely cool video here because you see Noctilucent clouds and the auroras at the same time. Don't skip this video. You'd be missing out if you do. And the last clouds are the Kelvin hemholtz clouds. I'm pretty certain we saw some of these outside of our window the other day. We looked at them, and they weren't as prominent as this. They didn't have the perfect wave shape that these do, but there was definitely, you could tell there was some turbulence up in the atmosphere because the clouds were definitely shaped kind of funny. And they didn't look that beautiful either. They were maybe a little bit less than that. Anyway, that's all of the clouds. So we know that the main ones are our cumulus, cirrus, and stratus. Nimbostratus, cumulonimbus, and fog are probably the most important. And don't forget contrails. I've seen that pop up on the test and quiz every once in a while too. All right, don't forget, like and subscribe, and keep on rocking it in science.